Welcome to the Fhtf Rhtr podcast. It's been quite the journey. We're happy to have you here. And today, I can say that we have an upbeat topic to talk about. I don't know if you know this song, but I'm going to sing it. And please don't laugh at me. But it's a song that I grew up knowing, and I learned it because it was that important to us as children, which is why we have an episode like this today. And this is how the song goes. When Nigeria beat Brazil, when Nigeria beat Brazil, oh, Bebeto come they cry. When Nigeria beat Brazil. And then we could put anyone else's name in it. We'd say, when Nigeria beat Brazil, when Nigeria beat Brazil, oh, Roberto Carlos come they cry. When Nigeria beat Brazil. This song came about because of Atlanta 96. It is Nigeria's, to date, Nigeria's most successful outing in the Olympic Games. So, for those of us who do not know, the Olympic Games are considered to be the world's biggest sporting festival. If you know anybody who is trying to get to the top of athletics, wrestling, judo, maybe not football, but the Olympic Games represents the zenith of sporting achievement. And Nigeria went to Atlanta 96 with high hopes. Why did we go with high hopes? At this point, I think it would be nice for me to give a background to what Nigeria's participation in Atlanta 96 was. The reason I'm giving a background is because nothing happens in a vacuum. The circumstances that lead to a thing matter. The person who is attempting that thing matters. And where that person is coming from and who that person is, what that person is trying to achieve, all these things matter when you are trying to evaluate whether or not the person achieved these things. And the Atlanta Olympics, they happened in Atlanta in the United States of America, came at a time when Nigeria was close to the edge. And it is safe to say that with just one small push, would have fallen off the edge. Eco-politically, we seem to be getting things right. General Sani Abacha had taken over the government from the disastrous June 12, which you can go and check on this podcast as well. And he was correcting certain things that had plagued us for a while. So, for example, the economy was recovering, our debt was reducing, corruption was being tackled, in quote, and inflation had come down. As a matter of fact, one of the reports at the time had it that inflation had gone down from about 54% or so to single digits, I think about 8%, which was a great victory. But sociopolitically, we're struggling. What do I mean? We've mentioned here how the military deals with conflict, especially the military in Nigeria. And the speed with which the military attempted to solve certain issues brought about problems of their own. And I'm sure we've mentioned this a couple of times on this group or on this podcast. Attempted to solve many of the problems that they came across, made it such that there were a lot of problems with their approach. Put in much simpler terms, the way that we were solving the problems that we came across came at a terrible cost. We had human rights abuses. We had several arrests and summary prosecutions. There was a serious yearning for a return to democracy at the time. There were human rights abuses. There were several arrests and summary prosecutions. There was a serious yearning for a return to democracy. And it is safe to say that there was a great threat of Nigeria being torn apart. So, this is the background with which we went to Atlanta 96. And if you think about it, you think about the execution of people like Ken Saro-Wiwa, for example, when it happened, and the chase and the capture and the execution of human rights activists during the Abacha years, 96 seemed to be a crescendo. Therefore, we put together what Nigerians call a dream team. We needed something to rekindle our national pride. We needed hope. And somehow we gathered a multi-ethnic, interrelated cast of athletes to the city of Atlanta in the United States to represent Nigeria in the Olympic Games. Now, to the tournament. First of all, I must tell you, even to this day, there are many events that happen in the Olympics that Nigeria is not particularly concerned with because we have not developed the path where we can participate. So, for example, you will not see Nigeria participating in too many swimming events. You also would not see Nigeria, for example, being prominent in the combat sports, although we do have a good record in things like weightlifting and wrestling, but in karate, in judo, not so much. The highlight of the tournament for us is why we have that song that I sang at the beginning, the Nigerian football team. In fact, they were the ones that were referred to as the dream team. He had in it young, promising men who, as a country, we expected to do great things going forward. If we were a European country, you would have referred to them as our golden generation. They played several games that took them to the semi-finals and the finals. We played against Mexico. And when we got to the semi-finals, this is where the dream started to become a reality. In the semi-finals, we went down by 3 goals to 1 to Brazil. Now, Brazil had actually defeated Nigeria in the group stage 1-0. That was our one setback. And now that we had met them in the semi-finals, they had gotten a 3-1 lead. In fact, the only goal that we had scored in this 3-1 scoreline was an own goal by Roberto Carlos. For those of us who are football fans, the name Roberto Carlos will ring a bell. And again, background. This Brazilian team was not just any Brazilian team. This was the Brazilian team. They had won the 1994 World Cup. This same Brazilian team would go on to be the finalists in 98 and lose to host France. And then some of these players will still go on to win the World Cup in 2002. But basically, this was the Brazil. But it was an Olympic team, so it was not all of Brazil. We understand that. But in terms of football, they were the final bosses. Mind you, not many people who were watching at the time knew this anyway. As far as we were concerned, Nigeria was playing Brazil. That's what we knew. And in that game, eventually we came from behind and we beat Brazil. Nwankwo Kanu scored an amazing goal. It was just beautiful. One of those things where he picked the ball up, chipped it, and then he turned it around, and then it went to golden goal. Now, right now in football, we know about extra time. If you do not score enough goals in regulation time, then you go to extra time, 15 minutes first half, 15 minutes second half, and then if you don't score again, you go to penalties. Then that was not the case. You would go to something called golden goal. And what golden goal was a time period which is actually extra time. But during that time period, whoever scored a goal first won. Hence the name golden goal. And Owanko Kanu again scored a quite fantastic goal and ended the game. That was great momentum. Coming from behind in football, in any sport, coming from behind gives you a special kind of lift. And so we took that lift and went to meet another team that is a juggernaut in football, Argentina. Gladly for us, we did not meet the Diego Maradona Argentina, but it was Argentina nonetheless. And just as it happened, Argentina took the lead. Then we equalized. Then Argentina took the lead again. We equalized, and then we won 3-2. The winning goal was scored by Amunike. It was a fantastic free kick. The Argentine team tried to play us offside, but we were wise to it, and we broke the line and we scored. When we won that match, we became the first African team to win a gold medal at the Olympics in football, which is why today names like Babayaro, both Babayaros, Taribo West, Sunday Olise, JJ Okocha, Wilson Oruma, Garba Lawal, Wankwo Kanu, Daniela Mokachi, Emmanuel Amunike, Victor Ikpeba, and Tijani Babangida are legendary figures when you ask any Nigerian who watches football. And I must say, before I even go further, that this man went on to do great things for Nigeria. This same core of players went on to win Nations Cups. This same core of players went on to represent Nigeria in the World Cup and went past the group stage, which was a good achievement for us at the time. And so it was a true dream team. But let's shift away from football for a bit because, like I said, this was our most successful outing. That was not the only gold medal that we won at that World Cup. Most Nigerian sport lovers know the name Chioma Ajunwa. Well, Chioma Ajunwa, our Eastern sister, to some of us now, we say our auntie, won a gold medal in the women's long jump. This is not a small deal. In the 4x4 relay of the women, we took a silver medal. And we also won 4 bronze medals. The winners were Mary Onyali, Falila Tugunkoya, and Charity Okpara. We also won 3 bronze medals. And the winners were Mary Onyali, Falila Tugunkoya, and Charity Okpara. In total, we won 6 medals at the 96 Olympic Games. 2 gold medals, 1 silver medal, and 3 bronze medals. Since then, and this is where I will rain on the party a little bit. Um, One of the problems with dreams is that eventually you have to wake up. And Nigeria woke up from our dream. The problems that plagued us that I mentioned at the start of the show did not go away. Those socio-political problems that were bedeviling us before we went to the tournament, they still came back. And for that reason, that Nigerian team had to withdraw from the Nations Cup in South Africa, which was to hold in that same year. If you ask many Nigerians, who will tell you that that year we would definitely have won the Nations Cup, but we didn't. And that is not the worst of it. Since then, Nigeria has only ever won one gold medal at the Olympic Games. And that gold medal, the 4 times 4 men's relay team in the 2000 Sydney Olympics in Australia, altogether, in total, Nigeria has won 27 medals at the Olympic Games. And to be honest, for a country of our size, for a country with our potential and with our natural gifts and history, anyway, that's not good enough. In truth, this number, 27 medals, should be the whole of a single tournament. Countries that we compare ourselves to, like China, like the United States, like the USSR, or Russia now, they get like 2 times these numbers every Olympic event. I only say this to say that we are very far from where we want to be, which probably means that we need to start dreaming again because obviously somewhere along the line we stop. But here's the thing is, the Olympic Games, like I said, is one of the best ways to understand what you have been able to do as a country, especially when it comes to your sporting development. Nigeria has tried. In fact, when the Abacha years were over, we hosted the All Africa Youth Games, Nigeria 99, and it was a fantastic outing for us. It will so happen that there is a correlation between a country's development and their willingness or their participation in worldwide sporting events. It may not look like it or it may not sound like it, but the truth is, when a country is doing well, when a country is really doing well, one of the ways that you would see this is in how it translates to their sporting excellence. And many people will tell you that that is one of the ways you can tell that Nigeria at the current time is not in the best of places. Atlanta 96 was a good outing. It could have been a better outing, but for us, it was supposed to be a launch pad. If you were to ask me how we were able to build on Atlanta 96 in the year 2000, I may not be able to give you a good enough answer. If you were to ask me how we're able to build in 2004, in 2008, in 2012, in 2016, I'm not sure I would be able to tell you that it was because of the programs that we set up this year that we were able to achieve this 4 years later. There is a lot of long term planning that is required to accomplish things like this. It seems as though we have not been able to put in that time and put in that energy. But enough with the bad news. This is supposed to be a celebration of what we're able to accomplish in Atlanta 96. In Atlanta 96, Nigeria announced herself on the world stage by beating two of the great footballing countries and bringing forth our own superstars. We beat Brazil, we beat Argentina, and we won the gold medal. And I must say this, and I hope you don't judge me for it, but the fact that the gold medal in football saw every member of the team with gold medals, for those of us who did not know at the time, and for many other people who also did not know, we thought that we had won 23 gold medals for all the teams. But that's not the case. It counts as one medal. But good luck explaining that to any Nigerian. National pride, collective joy, the rare moments where we get to celebrate our country should not be taken with a pinch of salt. When we have times where we can clap for one another and applaud one another, they are reminders. They are reminders that the things that we have dreamed once have come to pass. They are reminders that we have a much higher ceiling than the one which is holding us down at the moment. And they are reminders that not only can we do what we have done before, but we can do more, and we can do more, and we can do more. Interestingly, I must say this before we go. At the time, for many Nigerians, they didn't have television sets to watch those games. They listened on the radio. Also, the games were played very late at night, but families stayed up with their children. They dared curfews to listen to their heroes do incredible things. Nigerians wanted a miracle, and we got a miracle. That is what sports can do. That is what excellence can do for a nation. So, anytime that you want to feel good, anytime that you want to have a smile on your face, remember the lyrics of the song. So, anytime you want to feel good, anytime you want to have a dopamine rush of patriotism for your country, for this country, just remember the words to the song. When Nigeria beat Brazil, when Nigeria beat Brazil, Bebeto was crying when Nigeria beat Brazil. And it will remind you that there was a time in Atlanta 96 when we went to the world stage and we triumphed. God bless Nigeria, and we pray for many more days like this to come. See you next time.